Hello, fellow artists. Join me while I test out the Arches Travel Journal cold press watercolor paper, painting these fun fall leaves on a branch. So I start out painting the branch, and I'm using a silver brush, size 8, because I love the point on it, and I can get a super fine line or a thicker line, whatever I want to do there. Just a matter of the pressure. And that I used burnt umber for the branch, maybe a little of Van Dyke brown, Winsor Newton colors. Now for the leaves, I'm using a size 6 Princeton brush. And as you can see, I'm kind of holding the brush really close to the barrel there. And that helps me have a little more control with it, because I'm really just doing a few, as you can see with the leaves, I'm really just doing like 2 or 3 little brush strokes to create the leaves. Now I'm using some burnt sienna and a little bit of quinacridone gold for the leaves, and some permanent sap green. And what I like to do is mix a little bit of the green in with the burnt sienna and a little bit of the quinacridone gold right there. Just drop it in, and that way it gives, and then I like to blot with a tissue, and that way it kind of gives, 3 different colors in there that complement each other. And I'm not creating mud with them because I'm not blending them. I'm just resting them right next to each other. Now I'm rinsing my brush with water, and I blot it on a wet sponge. So it's damp, it's not wet, and that way I can pick up some of the paint. I can pick up some of the pigment there and create a highlight. There you go. Adding a little more burnt sienna to the edge, get a little more definition. And I'm happy with the burnt sienna leaves. Now I'm going on to the green. If you're liking this video, please hit that like button. It really helps me create more videos for you. And I'm really just doing like 2 half moons. And I'm going over them and dropping in some colors while they're a little wet. And I'll drop it in. I'll pick it up to give it like a smudged look. So I don't want them all to have a hard edge. I want some of them to have a blurred edge, so it has different depths to them, to each leaf. And I stuck to the 3 colors basically. Otherwise, I didn't want it to get too busy. So it's just the burnt sienna, the permanent sap green, and quinacridone gold, all by Winsor Newton. And that really makes it easy, especially if you're just kind of getting to know your colors. Kind of makes it easy just to use a few colors. It's actually much more relaxing, where you don't have to worry about picking the right color, choosing the right color. When you're only using 3 or 4 colors, it makes it an enjoyable process, let's say. I did use a little orange, cadmium orange Winsor Newton. I think it's coming up here in a second. I think right there, I just did a couple little spots, a few leaves, just to get it a little bright. I think it was looking, it wasn't looking as bright. The red, the burnt sienna wasn't looking as bright as I wanted it too, so I added a little cadmium orange just for a few leaves. And if you add it to the burnt sienna, it brightens it up too. It's a very pretty color. So here I am just kind of adding a little water, adding a little color. Just, you can see I'm kind of just, I don't know, I'm playing as I go. I'm just kind of experimenting. Like, should I do this? Should I do that? I'm trying not to overthink, of course, which we can easily do as artists. And if you notice how I'm angling my hand as well, you can also turn your paper around if you want to do it sideways, upside down, whatever, to get a good angle to make the leaves. These leaves, you can tell they're not the best because I was having an issue with the angle. You could see kind of the pointy leaf was going to the left, and I've been doing ones that point to the right this whole time. So I was like, oh, I had to kind of turn my whole hand around and everything. So I would probably, if I had to do this again, I would just turn my paper, my notebook upside down so I can do the leaves pointing to the right. I hope that made sense, but you can see I'm definitely having some issues with these leaves right here. I think I'm also trying not to get my hand in front of the camera. I think that might have actually been the issue. So, welcome to the world of taping yourself while you're painting or drawing. It's actually not the easiest thing in the world. So what I'm doing here is I grabbed a little burnt umber and I just created the branch in there. I figured, okay, well, I'm just going to cover up some mistakes there and put the branch in front of it. So that's pretty much what I did. And that's really what I love about watercolors, actually. A lot of people seem to be afraid of watercolors, and I actually was one of them. Then I just tried them. I attempted them. I thought, they're so pretty. I love them, and I love painting. So I'm just going to give them a shot. And it wasn't as scary as I thought it would be. They're actually more forgiving than you think. You can lift up the paint and the colors. You can blot it off so there's nothing there if you make a mistake and redo what you did, especially with hot pressed watercolor paper. The difference between the two papers are pretty dramatic. Hot pressed watercolor paper and cold pressed watercolor paper. You get completely different results with each paper. I have used both and done experiments with both, done a flower on cold pressed and a flower on hot pressed, and you get a completely different look with your watercolors. Hot press watercolor paper is great for colored pencil art, watercolor base with colored pencil over. It's actually the perfect paper for me. For certain projects, I should say. Not every single project, but for certain subjects, I should say. For loose like this, definitely cold pressed. This is what I'm working on now. Arches 140-pound cold press in their new travel journal that I am trying out. And I'm really liking it so far. It's just so handy to flip the pages, to have my swatches on one page. It's just, I'm definitely going to be using more journals for watercolor art. So now I'm just kind of having fun creating some falling leaves here, and then I get a little messy, let's say, adding some splashes, watercolor splashes, and just get some blue in there. It just definitely needed a cool color to contrast with all the warm colors, right? We've got the warm yellows, the reds. The greens are warm because they're kind of more on the yellow side. So I decided that I'm going to do some splashes with some blue. I think I'm using some cobalt blue. You'll see here in a little bit. And I really enjoy doing that. I think it kind of gives it a little fun and depth to it when you do little watercolor splashes and drips and that sort of thing. So I pretty much just added water to some of the leaves, adding a little extra water to the green, and tapping my brush. I know it's kind of hard to see. I'm just tapping my brush to get the droplets, and if I get too much water on there, I just dab it up with the tissue, and here I go. And then on the little droplets that I tap with my brush, I'll add a little water to activate the paint. Right there, that's what I'm doing. I'm just adding a little water there. And watercolor's dry, about 50% lighter, so I'm not really too worried about it being too much. I always go a little on the stronger side when I do this type of technique. And always have your tissue handy, because you'll see I do some blotting here. Oh, there it is. Blot it right up if you think it's too much. And that's another great thing about watercolor paper, hot or cold press, that you can blot it right up. Now I'm doing one more leaf over here, and this is a fun one because I add some water here after and kind of try to give it the illusion of that it's falling. Add some color and a lot of water, and wait for it. Little color, burnt sienna, and there you go. Just some fun wet on wet techniques there. I'm getting some contrast in. Notice how I'm holding my brush straight up and down. Sorry, it's in the way of the camera, but that's how you get a fine line, is you're using the point, similar to holding your pencil. When you want a fine line with your pencil, you hold it straight up and down. So now I'm just doing little final touches here, tiny little detail, and I think the fall leaf branch is finished. Thank you for watching, fellow artists. Here is the final painting. For the real-time tutorial, check out my Patreon page, Molly's Fine Art. Thank you.